Good evening. It's Monday, the 25th of March, 9 o'clock at night. I should be calling it a night. I actually have not been working on the bus. I'm working on that thing. Got all kinds of electronic trouble codes I'm trying to figure out. But while I was at work today, I had an epiphany. I have lots of epiphanies. I love that word. On how to fix this lock thing. And it occurred to me that I hadn't followed up on my epiphany. So I'm doing it now. I wanted to double check if what I epiphanized is correct. So when this guy is in place like that, right about there, it doesn't line up. It lines up good enough if you don't care that the shaft is in the middle of that hole exactly, and you've got the OEM seal on the outside that I no longer have. So my epiphany is to do away with this entirely, because that looks to be about 16 gauge. I'll measure that, which is about the same as this anyway. So this piece here is very strong. This area here, not so much. But my epiphany is, so here's the latch, okay? And inside this goes this gear, that lock, and this bar, latching bar. I'm going to leave all these parts out for now because I don't need to mess with that. All I really need to do is have this thing. So, I can do this with one hand here. Alright, this is like a fiberglass piece of metal, plastic that acts like a friction material, I would think. Nice and slick, or friction reducing material. So this whole thing goes together like that, right? I'm going to leave off that piece now just because it's not really important for what I want to show you. I could take this guy and install it directly in line where it needs to go, and then just screw this thing right to the door. Okay? So alignment would be pretty easy because, oh, I forgot to tell you, yesterday evening I couldn't help myself and I made this little part, which is now in there really tight because I guess it expanded with the humidity. Just a piece of wood. I turned it on the lathe with a bolt in the middle to hold it onto the lathe, which is a whole nother thing. So this is my guide for the center of the hole on the other side, is why I did that. And I thought what I was going to do was use a hole drill, hole saw, to drill this thing out to fit. And then I realized that this hole here is actually part of the latch, because that's what holds this gear in place. That side of the gear is held in place with that hole, and this side of the gear is held in place with this hole. And so now the gear can't woggle around when it's in place, because the square shaft that runs through it is depending on that gear to be supported on both ends, so this doesn't go all over the place, because out at the end there is the handle on the outside. Alright, so take this gear And if you look, that hole is not quite large enough. So if I enlarge that hole, okay, so this gear can drop in through that friction reducing material. Okay. I have everything here, so I can't like hold on this with one hand, but this just needs about a 1/16 of an inch of shim from here. And what I'd be able to do is also drill and thread a couple holes into this, which I think is Delrin plastic here. I don't think I could get that one because of this cutout. It'd be too close to the edge for my, that's called a drop test. All right, so wait a minute. It's going to be moving this closer to the door. We have to double check our spacing here before we do that. I'll have to wait until I get the channels, which I have right there hanging up, drying. That's my self-etching primer. I actually could have installed those today, but again, I was working on the Volkswagen. So my next opportunity, I'll have those guys installed in here with Grill Adhesive as a sealant and gooped up in all the right places. And then I'll explore repositioning that latch like I just described, because the door is actually set in deeper since I've bent the hinges. So maybe mounting the latch directly to the door is going to compensate. It's only a little bit. I mean, we're only talking, right, ½ inch. And the original latch mechanism also had this plate, which was on top of that thing, which was on top of the back here, which was all spacing, everything stacking up, spacing the latch away from the surface. So it might just work out. Yeah, we gotta wait. I did want to do some experimenting with the door seals. I got this roll that I bought for another project, which is just a little bit too thin. It's right at 3/8 of an inch thick, not compressed. Okay, but I need to fill like 3/8 of an inch between the door face and the door stops. So this wouldn't get it, but I don't know how thick of a seal to buy to give me the proper squeeze and that I could still be able to push the door shut. And also, when I push the door shut, I want it to be firmly closed against the latch so it doesn't rattle. So that's going to be a little bit of a trick to pick the right weather strip adhesive. This is hollow. So what I thought I would do is put this up in there and gauge, for example, how much force it takes to squeeze this 1/2 of an inch over the full length of the door. Because squeezing it with your fingers is really easy. And I know for a fact it doesn't take that much when you increase the surface area of the whole door. If the door seal is too firm, you can't shut the door. And just as a test, I was playing around with this piece of the original door seal right here, which is 3/8 is like fully compressed right here. I'm estimating it's about 3/8 of an inch when the hollow touches itself. I can feel it touching itself. And I put that in here when the door stopper was in, and I couldn't even close the door with all that leverage on it. So I'm kind of thinking 1/8 of an inch of crush on the gasket is the right thing. And if that's true, that'll be great, because I did find on McMaster car they have a nice door seal that's 1/2 inch thick. And if I stick that in a 3/8 of an inch space, gives me 1/8 squeeze, and I'll be feeling really good about that. So we did no work on the bus today except mental work, but that's okay, because most of this stuff is mental anyway, and you got to be a little bit mental to do this in the first place. Have a good night.